remember you.
Yeah, I remember you too. I was watching the live. I really liked tonight's live, you know. Y'all are such like genuine people. Oh, last time we talked, I reached out to, you know, like someone to talk to, like a therapist, and
Hmm.
she out a lot, you know, because I kind of deal with a little bit of depression. So, but it's okay. She helped me have good like communication and stuff. And tonight's live was really good to like think about, you know, culture and autonomy and self accountability, you know. And so it really brought out a lot with the live because well, one thing I learned is that I need to, you know, not research too much. I mean, it's a good thing to be book smarts and street smarts and stuff, and to learn stuff and educational wise, but uh, I'm actually starting to not research too much where it gets away with life stuff, you know, like, you know, feeding myself and yeah, and socializing. Yeah.
Well, you gotta remember, you don't have to be obsessed with studying, but you can always take a book. So if you're waiting somewhere, you can read a couple pages, right? The
Yeah.
book ain't stopping you from going where you're going, and it's giving you something to do to not waste time waiting in vain,
Yeah.
right? So you can take your studies on the go with you.
Yeah. Because I realize I think I'm like a scholar, you know? I have an itch to read about just weird things that be so cool. And then I find out myself because I want to see it, you know? And then I be watching it be just simple things like mushrooms, you know? And I like to learn about, you know, property and land because one day I do want to own land. I want to have like not a farm, but I do want to have like a big lot for myself. And I want to just, you know, tend to the land and maybe even see a weird looking mushroom, you know? And I just be
Mhm.
watching them grow and stuff. But yeah,
Mhm.
um, with the accountability and learning about our culture and stuff, that's like a big deal. And what we did in the, you know, past, we're kind of doing it right now. And a lot of people don't realize it that we are actually a very, autonomic people, you know? What's your original people? Very
Mhm.
autonomous. Built ourselves up without, you know, a lot of help. And one thing is that a lot of people took that from us, you know, and it's not fair, you know, and we're gonna take it back. It's really cool that we're learning that to fend for ourselves, you know, and doing it ourselves. And I think that's what we're learning for ourselves
Mhm.
too. So
Well, you got to remember this. The better you build yourself, the more useful you are to the most amount of people.
yeah,
You can do more good by building yourself first than if you deplete yourself before you finish building yourself.
that's
It's
pretty.
a it's a process. Many of us try to help other people before we get built up sufficiently strong enough to carry that load, and it end up breaking us, either financially, mentally, emotionally. But once we get the self, I call this constructive selfishness. If you can take care of yourself and make yourself valuable to your community, where you can be an asset everywhere you go, or your other option is to overburden yourself before you're ready and crumble. It would be better to build yourself up on your own terms so that you can do the most amount of good. Because if you allow it to break you down, then you're no good to yourself or nobody else.
Yeah,
So you got to be good to yourself for yourself first before you can be of any use of good to anyone else. That's why I tell women take at least an hour a day to get you some me time,
hmm
you know? Whether you want to read a book, take a bath, or smoke a blunt, sit in the motherfucking shade, drink a beer, you got to get that chance to unwind so that you can be strong enough to face the next day.
Yeah. So I learned that a lot about myself, taking care of myself, and it helped me. Because what I want to do, I want to, well, one, I want to own property. That's one, and then two, I want to be someone that research biological sexualities. Something's like a sexual like a what's a geneticist, but they some form of something, I don't know. I'm going to do more research on it, but I want to research biological sexualities, and they're there. It's just we don't.
That's a field of psychology,
Yeah.
and it has an extensive amount of research material that falls under that banner,
Yeah.
right? And
That's
yeah, I read quite a bit of
yeah.
psychological childhood sexual development, and some of the books and experiments they did to get the information is absolutely repulsive.
Yeah.
It is horrible.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be in the field, you have to be exposed to the horrible nature of being in that field. What the children went through to get the information to write about their sexuality was pure and unadulterated exploitation of a child. But the child was used in science as a sacrifice. And
Hmm.
that's what make the research into that field of study so traumatic for me personally.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why they teach children about sex, but I want to focus on the biological reproductions of adults, and not just adults. I'm talking about animals, insects, plants, and chemicals, and oxygen. They're all types of reproductive systems that just doesn't have a penis or a vagina. And talking about your entire system, like,
Mm-hmm.
for example, your hair, your eyes, your organs, that all plays a part in your reproductive system, and that is called your sexuality, of biological sexuality. And most people focus on just only the penis and the vagina area and the baby coming out. One plants the seed, one comes out, and the baby coming out. That's not the only process. That's the final results. That's the ending process. That's not the case when it comes to your organs. So I just really like, I'm really into that stuff. And a lot of people can't really explain biological sexualities to different species because they don't have the finances, or people die in the jungle or something. I actually ask people, like, why don't they actually give us our proper identification? And they're just like, oh, the military and all that stuff, that costs money. And people die early. People don't live long. And I was like, what? Yeah, it was crazy. But that's what I want to do. But first, I'm focusing on myself, though. I'm trying to, heal myself, to, get out of, depression and stuff, because I'm dealing with that. But because I researched too much, mainly on that
Do
topic.
you know that one of the most unknown causes of depression is malnutrition?
Yes, the food that I be eating. I'm a little skeptical about everything that I eat. Sometimes I don't feed myself, and I'm in malnutrition. I did tell my therapist I need to talk to a nutritionist, and she said you should, because you're very, detail orientated and picky on what you eat. And I am, and sometimes I give up and I binge and I choose processed foods because I hate that. I'm angry. It's angry. I try to pick stuff that's crunchy, and it's processed. And I get so angry and I'm mad, and I get and I binge. And that's what I do sometimes. Like,
So this is the exercise you should start to practice. When you start feeling that way,
okay.
you use self-talk.
Oh,
Why do I feel this way? What's the root cause? instead of giving in to the drive created by feeling a certain way, by turning it into a learning of self-experience, you take away all of the toxic behaviors that feeling certain ways can cause. And the more toxic behaviors you purge from the self, the more functional you are in communication with others.
Ew. Because, yeah, sometimes I don't know how to communicate correctly. I had speech therapy some months ago, and that really did help me communicate my thesis on biological sexualities. That did help me communicate correctly with people. Because a lot of people thought I was talking about, gay people. And I was like, no, I'm specifically focusing on the biological. And they're like, but there's only one biological sexuality, and it's heterosexual. And I was like, that's actually not true. Heterosexuality explains to you the final demonstration. It's not telling you the process of your organs and how the whole procreation even
Well,
happened.
you got to look at what you looking at is only one part of what's taking place in the biology of the species anyway. So when you're talking about sexuality, you're talking about a very specific part of functionality. When you're talking about biological, you're talking about it in relation to the body. So the sexuality in relation to the body is different than the psychological expression of the sexuality. The physiological expression of the sexuality, what you do with your body to show your sexual feelings to the world. This is the same way that different species of animals have mating rituals that make them adorn themselves with stuff that's foreign to the bird or whatever the species is in order to allure a mate. Some species allure a mate by building a home. Others lure a mate by stealing a home, right? All of these different things we see in nature, we can see it all play out with people. Because even though we think that we so smart and intelligent, we still have a natural function as a species that we don't deviate from. But when you talk biological sexuality, you're talking about one specific thing. But when you give the description, you're describing multiple things under the heading of a thing that all of them don't apply.
I think you just touched something. I need to look into that more because maybe I'm just not putting the right words correctly. But I am saying something that's about to happen. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying I see the future. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. And when you do what you're supposed to do, I guess you get gifts, to
Mhm.
put it in big terms. But I am talking about something that is soon to happen. Identification. That's a big deal for some reason. I don't know why that keeps popping up in my brain cells, but identification, for some reason, that's something big. And I keep saying biological sexualities, but I like talking about that stuff. It's a good part to help me research because I want to be a scholar. So
Well, when I was studying sexuality, I even studied the single cell organisms mating rituals. So I know what you're talking about. It also led me into studying different pornographic ideologies, like studying the Kama Sutra in India, studying the geisha Japan, studying the hustler history of the magazine, Playboy magazine, and the Empire Hugh Hefner. But all of this was me studying sexuality among the human species because everything we do, we think is unique to the human species, but it's all played out by other species of animals under different pretexts throughout the whole of nature, right? So we dress nature up in all kind of fancy shit and say it's something different than nature, right? We try to make nature be what we want it to be instead of recognizing it for what it is. And then understanding that the human is one of the few animal species that can deviate from the laws of nature by application of the will.
Mm.
So the fascination with the study of sexuality in all its forms is a natural curiosity for most people, even if they try to conceal it.
Yeah. It does help me push on to researching other stuff about the world. And it's really just mainly about, bugs and mushrooms, especially. I don't know what it is, but mushrooms remind me of fish, like octopuses and squids. But they look so cool. But, oh, let me tell you something. My birthday was on Friday. Yeah.
Oh, happy belated birthday,
Yeah.
sweetie.
I turned 25.
Go on with your bad self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went out with friends, my party friends, where we just walk around and see the lights. But they're more the fun people. But I don't push them on where I'm like book smarts and studying and stuff. They're not the people for that. They're more like, let's go out, see the lights, let's walk around.
Mhm.
So I don't
Well,
really.
that's how you protect your inner child,
Yeah.
because your inner child is your natural innocence, and yours is very prominent.
Yeah.
The,
I take care of it.
the, the people in the comments, they love you. They sending you so much love,
Mm.
and they recognize in your youthful um, energy,
Yeah.
right?
Actually,
Some of them even think you a fairy.
okay. I take care of 2-year-olds. So that pretty much well, I've been like this before I got the job. Like I took the classes and everything, and they were like, how did you finish your classes? But you didn't have to pay for it. You could have just, got hired and took the classes for free. And I was like, no, I just got it all done and over with before. So they immediately made me the lead teacher, and I took care of the babies like I did. I'm like, they're so cute, like 2-year-olds, like all of them. Like either if they're like Spanish or Asian. I even learned different cultures and different, uh, biology, genetics parts. I just learned a lot. You would think this child is like Chinese, but they're actually Hispanic. So they just look different. It's really cool to be around babies.
Listen, I'm
It's
gonna tell you a secret. A lot of Mexicans have a lot of Chinese in their blood.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, I thought the child was this parent's, and the teachers are like, just make sure you just remember the parents' faces. But like other than that, like they're very smart. You would think